Anyway,
all the racist haters need to go back in their hole.
Yeah.
And stay there for the rest of their lives.
Oi, mister! You me dad?
I'm Dan Carlson, portion of the Lost Blokes, and it is 1979.
I am John Kadolf. I am one of the Lost Blokes, and today we're here to discuss the first 3 episodes of the new Disney Obi Wan Kenobi series. So this show is based around the adventures of Obi Wan Kenobi between the Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope. It's set around the time when he was on Tatooine specifically to care for, well, not care for, but to
Protect.
to sort of protect and defend Luke Skywalker as he lived with his aunt and uncle Beru and on their moisture farm. And this also introduces the live action versions of the Inquisitors, the Grand Inquisitors, the sisters, the brothers, and their search for Jedi, their hunt for Jedi. They go about doing this. They're on Tatooine for a different Jedi, but third sister seems to think that Obi-Wan is around as well.
Reva.
And tries to flush him out.
Reva?
Yeah, Reva.
Yeah.
And she is obsessed with catching Obi-Wan. So she goes behind her Grand Inquisitor's back to plan and plot and try to catch Obi-Wan herself for the glory. We don't know if there's a deeper reason why Reva wants Obi-Wan as a capture on his own, on her own, but we do know that she is absolutely bent on doing it. So we go through the adventures, but the thing is that the Organas are oh, and I ran into the 2 minutes. See, it's a little too in depth. Alexa, quit it.
Well, Reva decides
Let me finish. Let me finish.
Oh, sure.
Here is what I found. According to Wikipedia, Robert Anthony De Niro Jr. is an American actor, producer, and
Alexa,
director.
stop.
Did you mention Bob De Niro at any point?
No.
Okay.
What it is that when I said Alexa, you started talking and it picked you up.
But I didn't mention Bob De Niro either.
De Niro.
Bobby.
So anyway,
hey,
what
Bobby.
ends up
Wait, Bobby De Niro, if you're out there, what gives? Okay.
So anyways, the Organas have a problem in that Leia is a little troublemaker. And she loves to go on adventures and she loves to be a free spirit. Well, she ends up getting captured by the employ of Reva because she wants to flush out Obi-Wan. So she gets taken off world. He ends up reluctantly going after her, and an adventure ensues.
Yeah, I've been eagerly awaiting this show since I was 6 years old because it's sort of what are you doing?
Ambient light.
Oh, ambient light. How do you like my 70s kitchen?
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah,
or 70s bathroom at the mall.
Bathroom at the mall. I want to talk about that first scene where she shows up on Tatooine and they're looking for the Jedi. I love that scene. That's the scene that's getting a lot of criticism, but I love it because both actors are doing a great job. The Grand Inquisitor reminds me of Hans Landa in Inglourious Bastards, very calm and methodical and trying to get to the meat of things. And she reminds me of Brad Pitt in Seven, where he just wants to kick the door in and get everything done fast and makes mistakes because, I mean, this show is not arguing that she's like some great bad guy that's a bit more important than Darth Vader. It's showing that her eagerness is going to probably be her undoing. And anyone who actually knows how to tell a story or how to watch a movie knows that that's what's happening in those scenes at the beginning. A lot of people don't seem to know that, or pretend not to know that.
They just don't get it. It's like I said earlier, go back in your hole, stay there for the rest of your life, because nothing you have to say is relevant.
Yeah. So that first scene, I think it perfectly sets up everything. I thought the idea that they were there to look for a different Jedi was a surprise, and that was cool. And it also sets up Obi-Wan's reason for shutting himself off from the Force, which is what I believe he's doing, same as Luke in Last Jedi.
I think he already had shut himself off from the Force.
Yeah, he's been shut off from the Force for a long time already. He hasn't, he's not even well versed in using it anymore, really. But they say, a Jedi's compassion is his undoing. That's what, he'll, if he sees someone else suffer, he'll come to their help, and that's when we'll find him. And then we see them do that, and that's what happens. The Jedi helps the guy, and that's sort of what they're. I also got a good cop, bad cop vibe from them both. I mean,
but I don't think that it was intentional.
No,
I don't think that they were playing off of each other like good cop, bad cop. I think that Reeve is just off the wall and obsessed and wants as much power. And if that was her that we saw at the Jedi Temple, she feels robbed of something, and
or
because she was training to be a Jedi. So she would have gone on to greater things. Well, that was torn from her. And you remember when the brother asks, what do you hope to gain of this? She says, what I'm owed. And that is power, because she feels that she was that the Empire ripped her power away from her by preventing her from becoming a Jedi. So now she's going to get what she was owed, and that's power through the Empire.
Well, what I love about it is we don't really know what her motivation is. We're still in like a little bit past the first act now. She could be not a good guy, but maybe she's trying to assassinate Vader. Maybe she hates him for the attack. Maybe she hates Obi.
Well, I mean, it could all be from hate, but it's not. Yeah, the notion of good guy, I think, is no way, because she's done so much evil already.
Right.
I think we're well beyond
hands
that.
Off.
Revenge.
I mean, she cuts hands off.
Yeah, revenge possibly. Maybe she wants revenge on Vader.
Maybe she wants revenge on Obi-Wan for not protecting her.
Well,
or causing
Obi-Wan wasn't her protector. It was that teacher.
Yeah, who knows?
And the teacher did protect her until she went down.
I'm just saying we don't know anything. We don't really know what her deeper motivations are yet.
I think her motivation is that she feels that power was torn from her, and so now she wants to get what she's owed, but she wants it from the Empire, because she feels that the Empire stole her future, so now she's going to get a new one from them, and that's where I think she's coming from.
Okay, well, either way, I mean, Sith, Jedi. I mean, Sith always. One of the things that has been a continual criticism of the sequel trilogy and everything is that, who is Snoke, and Snoke died, and like that. I mean, that was such a turnaround from everything we've seen before. It really isn't. It's exactly what anyone who's read the comics, delved into the deeper lore of things, knows that Sith are always trying to kill each other. Vader and the Emperor are only in cahoots as much as they have to be. At any moment, one might kill the other, which is why he's so ready to sacrifice Vader to get Luke. Or he doesn't care whether Vader or Luke wins in that battle. He wins either way, unless they turn against him.
Because he wants I think the motivation is that they're always seeking the best tools, and
Right.
and if Vader was more powerful, then he's the better tool.
Right,
If
it's a test.
Luke was able to win, then he was the greater tool.
Mhm.
So,
Well, what I'm getting at is they are always at each other's throats in some way. So the idea that she would be so aggressive, trying, and ambitious, that's not out of character for dark side users or Sith.
right. I mean,
it's
very possible that she's trying to get in good because she doesn't even know that the Emperor is the other Sith. It's possible she believes that Lord Vader is the Sith Lord and is looking for an apprentice.
well, she isn't dealing with Vader from a conceptual level either, though. She is actually in direct contact with it.
Right. No,
Um,
maybe it's possible that that all of these Inquisitors and everybody else are not aware of the Emperor being the other Sith.
Another thing is the Inquisitors almost have something in common with the Death Star committee there in A New Hope, where they're all sort of mid-level bureaucrats. They don't really want to stick their neck out and make like waves is more than they have to satisfy whatever corporate situation that they want to, like they're not sitting there going, let's blow up every planet we can. They have very specific goals and they're trying to do them. Not that they aren't evil, but they're not running around trying to, like willy-nilly just be monsters everywhere.
Everything is done with a purpose.
Yeah. So and that's what we see with the Grand Inquisitor. He's looking for Jedi, but he's not just running around, like trying to be a dick to every person around him to prove to everybody how monstrous he is. He has a reason for doing his stuff, and she has something to prove, which is why she's overdoing it. She is overdoing it. That's not a criticism of the actress or the character. That's part of the story.
Yeah.
And if you're willing to watch more than 3 scenes, you will wait for that to play out. I want to see where that goes. That looks interesting to me. I want to find out why she's that way.
Now, we see the contrast between the Grand Inquisitor that's assigned to this task and when Vader shows up. The Grand Inquisitor is very calculated and diplomatic in the way that he says, you will be rewarded if you lead to the Jedi's capture. Vader shows up and just starts force choking children and snapping their necks and instilling terror as he walks through those streets. There was a direct contrast between the Inquisitor walking down that street and Vader walking down that street.
And another thing I would want to add to that is that Vader isn't always doing that either. Vader would prefer to sit in his throne and not be in pain. He's sent out sort of like the bulldog of the Emperor when things have to be handled in a very violent manner. And he is trying to get Obi-Wan to come out. And he knows that the only way that Obi-Wan is going to come out is if he's picking people up and snapping their necks,
Well, that's the thing. Obi-Wan is too smart to fall for that, though. He knows what Anakin's tricks are. And he knows what Anakin is willing to do. Now, I think something that's interesting is that the entire scene where Vader was walking down that street and doing what he was doing, I could picture Hayden Christensen as Anakin walking down the same street doing the exact same thing, and I could see the look on his face the entire time. It didn't matter that he was behind that mask. I could see Anakin doing exactly that in the exact same way. It's as if they It's as if they wrote the scene for, specifically for Anakin, because just in what he was doing gave Vader that you could tell the look on his face while he was doing those things. You know what I'm saying? So it was so in depth, and so it was just well written. I mean, even to when he was pursuing Obi-Wan, you could have easily just had Hayden Christensen doing it without the Vader, ensemble.
And I think that's a good, not just on good writing, but it shows that Hayden Christensen really did embody that role for us, as in Revenge of the Sith, and all, like he really, you don't actually realize how much you're feeling for what he's going through while you're watching those. When you're watching New Hope in 1977, Darth Vader is this cartoonishly bad, evil monster, and now he's a guy who suffered a lot in a lot of ways because of his own choices. I'm not letting him off the hook, but he's not just this cartoon. He's a guy who was afraid of losing his wife and did. Was afraid of, a lot of the control that he required or that he sought was rooted in things that he was afraid to lose. Lost his mother. The Jedi took him away from her when he was a kid, and even Dave Filoni has said the person who knew how to take care of Anakin was Qui-Gon, and when Qui-Gon died, Obi-Wan just stepped into the role because he felt he had to, and he didn't really understand this kid's needs, and
I don't know if I agree with you on that.
He didn't. He did
recall the scene where Anakin and Obi-Wan are walking down and they're talking about him, and Obi-Wan specifically says to Qui-Gon, but he's dangerous. The boy's dangerous. Are you sure you know what you're doing? He knows that kid is dangerous, but he wasn't equipped well enough to train him to keep him from becoming what he became. See,
that's what I'm saying.
He put up with all of Anakin's antics while he was growing up. He just put up with it, and he didn't have. I don't think he had enough discipline on Anakin while he was growing up to where Anakin thought he could do whatever he wanted.
Dave Filoni, when he was describing Qui-Gon's death as the moment when Anakin was lost, and he said that Obi-Wan is doing this more out of obligation, this obligation to the promise he made his master, rather than coming from an understanding, rather than loving him the way Qui-Gon would have. Qui-Gon loved the kid and wanted to take care of him.
I think Obi-Wan did too.
He said,
I think his brother.
I think his love of him is more of as a sibling, whereas Qui-Gon would have been more of a father figure.
Yeah.
And the Emperor, I think that the Emperor was planting images in his brain of his wife dying and creating the very fear that he was then solving by
he was crafting the prophecy.
Yeah, the prophecy, the things that Anakin was seeing probably weren't even prophetic. They were probably projections from the Emperor into his brain.
Right. What the Emperor was doing was setting up the dominoes, and Anakin was so weak that he's the one that pushed down the first one and just and allowed all the rest to go. And
so I think the show, I mean, another thing that's being criticized, I'm not getting into the politics of it, but another thing that's being criticized is that Obi-Wan is being portrayed as this, like downtrodden and beaten person. But that was the case in 1977 when we first saw Obi-Wan. He was in hiding. He was a hermit. He was talking about how he's one of the last Jedi. there's nothing in this show that contradicts what we've seen before in that regard. Now, the big thing, what do you think? So did you get goosebumps when you saw Alderaan?
Oh yeah, of course. And it was made to look so beautiful.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Um, and we have young Leia Organa. Another criticism is that she talks way beyond her years. But I wonder if these people understand some of the things that Star Wars has always dealt with. We have, I mean, even in the prequels, we have a queen who's only 14 years old.
Yeah.
There are countries in this world right now, or I mean, I don't know about right now, but in recent history that have had kings or princes, you know, that have a leadership role, and are groomed to like be well read by the time they're 12, you know. So this is not unheard of. It may be a little unusual in from American sensibility, but it's not something that's out of left field if you have knowledge outside of Star Wars.
Yeah, and well, besides that, you have to remember that Princess Leia is a force-sensitive human being who you know, is strong with the Force, even though she doesn't know it, and that's going to help her, you know, accelerated learn. You know, I personally know a handful of kids that age that talk like that, you know, that are very well read, well spoken. They've been, you know, caringly raised to have knowledge and to be confident enough to speak. And that's what it is it's confidence. And what is Princess Leia if she's not a bundle of confidence? She goes right up to Tarkin and says, you know, oh, I thought I smelled you around here, you know.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
You know, she's this diminutive, you know, little human, and she goes up to Vader and Tarkin and says that they smell like you said,
right?
They
smell that right after they tell her, no, you're going to put her to death. She's like, yeah, but you smell like shit.
Yeah, she's a bundle of confidence, and I think that they're building on that so beautifully now, where, you know, think about it, all of her interactions when we first meet her in A New Hope are exactly like that. She's, you know, put that thing away, you're gonna get us all killed. And you know,
well, Lucas said that's the whole point of New Hope, is that these two men go to save her, and she ends up saving herself and taking control of the rescue, you know.
Yeah
I mean, that's and why would you write the character as a child vastly different from that?
Right, exactly. It's showing where she came from and how she grew into the role that Carrie Fisher played in 77.
And in this show, she is pro-Empire to a degree. She still believes the Empire is propaganda. To a certain extent. I mean, we can see that she's the kind of person who will investigate things and find out that it's not what it's set up to be. But at this point, as a 9-year-old, whatever she is at this point, 10, I think they would be 10. Yeah. She believes the Empire's at least helpful. I don't know if she thinks of them as good, but you know, when someone who is Empire sympathizing comes up to give them a ride, she just wants to go right up and say, hey, what makes you think everybody's, you know, like going to be your enemy? Just be nice to the guy. Because she doesn't understand what the Empire has done.
She has the wisdom beyond her years, or not wisdom beyond her years. She has the intelligence beyond her years and the attitude beyond her years, but she still isn't wise beyond her years.
She hasn't had a reason to be.
Because she was raised by the Organas to be a princess, to be a leader, and I don't think that they probably didn't feel she was ready to understand what the impact of the Empire was. So that's why she was still fairly trusting. But then again, something that she was slowly teaching Obi-Wan was, do you not trust anybody? You know? And he said, you know, not everyone is good. And so he's teaching her, she's teaching him.
He's teaching her that she's got to be more careful. She's also teaching him that you can't just assume someone's going to be You know, like, I mean, there are people who are working within the Empire who are helping them.
Yeah.
So you have to, I mean, it's a case by case thing. And I just, Star Wars is getting richer and deeper. It's not getting dumber and lighter.
Yeah, I mean, we got to remember that this is probably what, 6 or 7 years before the Death Star is built.
Well, this is 10 years before Revenge. This 10 years after Revenge of the Sith. The kids are 10. They're about 19 when New Hope happens.
Yeah.
So this is 9 years before New Hope.
Yeah. So, you know, at this very same moment, the beginnings of the rebellion are basically taking shape.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, within a couple of years, or with maybe even less than that, they're going to learn of the Empire's plan to create the Death Star.
Yeah, I think
because I'm sure it takes the Empire years to build it.
Yeah, well, they were already planning it in the Revenge of the Sith. You saw the little plans for it.
Yeah,
but
so,
you know, the idea that the Empire is evil, for most people, it probably doesn't impact their daily life. If you're on the Empire's side, you know, you're a stormtrooper family or whatever, you're probably very patriotic. You think the Empire is great. They probably aren't committing acts of terror in front of you. If you do hear about something bad they might have done, you may react to them like, well, they're just cleaning up, you know, the troublemakers.
They react.
Where do we hear that? You know,
they react the same way Americans react when we hear that drone strike killed, you know, 15 people in a church somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And we're like, well, they probably were after somebody bad.
Yeah, and it just happened, you know, accidents happen.
Yeah, it's the same kind of reaction.
Yeah, so and I think that I don't want to go down that road, but you can see where some people would react to the show very viscerally if they held a point of view that didn't allow them to take that in.
Yeah.
The only complaint that I'll take seriously from anybody about the show so far is that there was one missed opportunity.
What's that?
There's a scene where Obi-Wan and Leia are looking for a ride, and Freck comes to pick them up, and she says, you know, because Obi-Wan's very reticent, she says, "Come on, say hello," and he says, "Hello," instead of saying, "Hello there."
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Well, hello there.
Yeah. Hello there, my little friend. And Freck. Can we talk about Freck?
Sure, we can talk about Freck. Freck was a mole man. Freck was a giant mole man.
But he sounded like a trucker.
Yeah. He sounded like a trucker with a MAGA hat on. And he was a trucker with a MAGA hat on.
He had the flag on the back.
He had the flag on the back of his pickup truck for the Empire.
Yep.
Nothing wrong with a little bit of order, isn't there?
No, there's nothing wrong with a little bit of law and order. Keep things going. Oh, God. And he almost had Toby Keith coming out of his radio for, you know.
Yeah.
Jimmy Smits, it was great seeing him again as Bale. What are there any squee moments of the show so far for you?
Well, I mean, when Vader walks down that street, and then the first time he fires up his lightsaber,
mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was one large goosebump.
Isn't it? I mean, after and I love The Mandalorian, you know that, and I really like the Book of Boba Fett, even though the first couple episodes, it took me a while. That's another thing. If you're having trouble enjoying this right now, wait till it's over, because you never know where it's going to end up.
Right.
Anyway, I've loved every minute of this. I like that it's presented almost like a movie. There's end credits in this one without like paintings and stuff. It feels less like a TV show and more like a movie.
Yeah, it really does. And the fact that it began with
a long time ago
in a galaxy far, far away.
Yeah. And this is the Obi-Wan that I always thought he was. I never thought that he was spending that 10 years in hiding on Tatooine, doing lots of brave. You're trying to keep low. You're trying to keep your head down.
But
And
he was traveling to different systems to save Leia.
Yeah, he did that. This feels like it's out of the ordinary for him, though. Like usually he's just a hobbit. He's hanging out in his domicile, trying to train to talk to Qui-Gon and buying used product from the Jawa that has been stolen from him 5 minutes earlier.
Yeah,
that was funny.
Yeah,
when a Jawa is telling you that you smell bad, maybe you need
then
to.
There's
maybe you need to save up a few of those credits for whatever kind of shower they offer in town.
Do you think we're ever going to see what a Jawa's face looks like?
I think
eventually, do you think that's going to remain a mystery forever?
I got to say, I hope it remains a mystery forever. But if we do see it, it's not going to kill anything for me. Be like, I from what I gather from the little bits of pieces of things that I found online, they're furry creatures.
Well, yeah, we saw that one's
rat-like, I guess.
We saw that one's hands once.
Yeah.
It's good stuff.
Yeah, it is. I think if you are watching this show to have fun because you like Star Wars, you're going to have fun and you're going to feel like you're watching Star Wars.
Yeah.
If you're watching this show because you're angry about a whole lot of things that have nothing to do with a TV show, or maybe have a little bit here, and Star Wars has always been a left-leaning enterprise. It was written by George Lucas in the 70s as a reaction to the Watergate scandal and Vietnam and things like that. It was always going in that direction. If you're just now seeing that, I don't know if you were walking around with blinders on for decades or if you're pretending to now just see it.
Well, I think that what it is that a lot of those people are wannabes and pretenders.
Yeah, they can't name any of the characters or
those were all they were jocks back in 1977 through the 80s and thought all of us who liked Star Wars were geeks and would flick us on the ear when they walked past us and shit like that.
Yeah, the jocks.
Now they realize that they have to be hip and cool, so now they're liking it, but then they're realizing, oh shit, this is left leaning. So now they're angry that they got themselves all into it and realized what Star Wars was always meant to be.
I'm just saying, I love this. And you're going to love it too if you love Star Wars. I'll be honest, when I first saw Phantom Menace, I had problems with a few things. Over the years, it has morphed into one of my favorite Star Wars movies. I'll actually throw that one in any old day of the week if I just want to have fun. It's the most fun of it rivals New Hope for just sheer thrills.
Wait, what does?
Phantom Menace. I'm just talking about the thrills, for the roller coaster,
and and for the incredible soundtrack. I mean,
the Duel of the Fates. Oh my God,
Duel of the Fates. I mean, I cannot sit back in a seat when that all starts.
I know. I actually get up in my room and start moving my hand around like I got a lights. I'm Darth Maul in that moment, even though I don't want to be a bad guy. Luke and Leia are about 10 years old at this point. Han would be in his early 20s.
Yeah.
So it's,
because he was about 30, 35 when
he was 33 in New Hope when when Leia was 19.
Yeah.
And I believe Luke is supposed to be the same age as Leia.
Yeah, well, they're twins.
No, but I mean as actors, I think they were the same.
Oh,
age.
You're talking about as actors? No, I was talking about characters.
Yeah. Well, one's slightly younger by seconds.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do we want to rate all 3 episodes separately, or do we want to rate them together? Or
I'm perfectly happy with just saying press play on the entire show so far.
Yeah, me too.
It brings back so much Star Wars nostalgia. I just love the fact that I've come to my realization about Obi Wan Kenobi.
What's that?
And during the years of the first not the first trilogy, but the prequel trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the whole Obi-Wan thing, Ewan McGregor, I loved Ewan McGregor as an actor, still do, of course. But at the time, I felt resistant to accepting him as Ben, or as Obi-Wan.
Well, because you're so,
because I was so entrenched in
Alec, Alec Guinness.
Yeah, in Sir Alec Guinness being Obi-Wan, that I thought, okay, well, yeah, he's playing a good Obi-Wan, but Alec Guinness is Obi-Wan. But now I'm at the point where I've come to this realization that
they are the same person to me.
They're the same person, but Alec Guinness shaped who Obi-Wan was, and then Ewan McGregor
fleshed it out.
Had to take that helm, and he's done such a fantastic job being a young Alec Guinness playing Obi-Wan.
When I look at Alec Guinness, I don't look at a recast character anymore. I look at that's Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
Just like I think it's easier to do that with Donald Glover as Lando, because he's so much younger than the Lando we see in Empire.
He does such a good job.
I think there's some resistance in seeing someone recast as Solo, because they do look different and they're about the same age. They're not that. There's not that age gap where we can say, okay, his appearance would have changed by this point.
Yeah, you know what?
I'll say he did a good job as Solo. I'm not going to slight him. He was good.
All right, that's fine. That's fine. But what I'm going to say is that there were some amateur actors out there who were in fan films, fiction
that looked
movies
more like him.
That looked more like him, sounded more like him, and acted more like him, and would have been a much better choice if they had just seen this guy, this actor, this amateur actor, and said, let's quick get him into a bullet train acting school. Let's get him trained for screen, and let's get him into this movie, because he would have been perfect. And I can't remember his name.
I know who you're talking about. There's also in the movie Age of Adeline, there's Harrison Ford's in that movie in his current age, and they do flashback scenes, and they hired a different actor to play him as a younger person, and it looked just like him. So I think they actually,
Phoenix was still alive. He would have played a perfect
I don't think River Phoenix really looks very much like Harrison Ford. I think we just, because he did a good.
He had Harrison Ford's mannerisms down perfectly in Last Crusade.
Yeah, I'd say that. Anyway, I'm just saying that the recasting of the roles is in certain ways it's less of an issue for me now. I can watch it.
It's less of an issue, but I think they made such a huge mistake with Solo. I like the movie, but I think they made a huge mistake with the actor, because I will never feel that he's Han Solo.
Okay. Well, when I watch that movie, I don't feel like I'm watching Star Wars. And I like that movie, but I feel like I'm watching an Indiana Jones film more than a Star Wars movie. It just feels
really,
which is fine. I actually like what I like about that movie is that it's smaller stakes. Solo's just got to get this thing and get it to the place and have a little fight, and that's it. It's not like the Marvel movies where everything is the end of the world if everything isn't taken care of. I can't wait to see what happens next.
Yeah.
4
days away.
I like that the movie is just straight up giving us Vader. It's not like playing coy with it.
Right.
Like Vader doesn't become like I always thought, the way that these shows would do it is to treat the big characters like they're the Emperor in Empire Strikes Back, where he pops in for what are you up to? Give me an update.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, though, just the brutal nature of Vader coming out here is unbelievable. I mean, he starts force choking that dude, and when the kid comes out to help his father, he snaps the kid's neck and then leaves the wife alone to just deal with it. I mean, what an asshole.
Yeah. Vader, I'm sure a lot of people are going to be very happy with Vader now that he's a complete and utter fucking asshole. He was in Revenge of the Sith too. I mean, he killed kids, but now we're seeing him. He hasn't softened.
Yeah,
People seem to like when characters get really dark and don't soften.
Yeah,
So,
this is Vader's time. This is dark Anakin right here. This is when he's at his angriest. He's at his most vengeful. He's at his most.
Well, he can't even sit down and watch TV. He comes out of his back to tank. It looks very painful. It looks almost like he's a Cenobite. He sits down. It looks like it's painful for him to sit down. Although now he's dragged Obi-Wan into a pit of fire, so we know that Obi-Wan is suffering burns now. So I wonder where that's going to go. The burns all seem to have happened in areas that are covered by his clothes, so later on we don't have to say, hey, why isn't he burned up?
Yeah. It's not like he changes his clothes in front of the camera. He wears that stinky robe the entire time.
Yeah, it's not like Train Spotting where Ewan's showing off his flop doodles. It's and again, another thing that I really want to talk about is you hear people saying there aren't enough creatures in the show. There's more creatures in this show so far than there have been in a lot of the other ones. There's the whole core, whatever that planet is that looks like it's from Blade Runner, when she's running away from Obi-Wan and she runs into the legs of that giant creature, and then she backs up into that big werewolf looking thing, and there's a fucking dinosaur with a laser gun chasing after them for like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
What do you want?
Yeah. He looked like a raptor with a laser gun.
It's that raptor from Jurassic Park who figured out how to open the door by itself. He's figured out how to carry a laser gun now. I loved it.
See, the reason that we're getting that from some people is that, again, they became fans after the 1990s digital remakes of New Hope and everything else, where they added a whole lot more in. Mm-hmm. Whereas for us who
we had to make do with werewolf masks, and
we had to do with werewolf masks and weird prosthetics on sticks and things like that,
So like
we were happy.
We were happy. The cantina scene in 77 has a mix of some of the best special effects you've ever seen in your life and some of the worst you'll ever see. And they're just all together.
Yeah.
And it's fine.
Yeah.
All I was thinking about in 77 was, I wonder how they filmed this in outer space. Because this was the first.
That's awesome.
This is the first movie where I had any clue that a movie was made. I watched King Kong and I loved it, and I could tell that there was something off about the creature, but I didn't know what the process was to get him there. Once I saw this, I started getting really curious. I'm like, well, they must have filmed it in space. So then my uncle starts telling me, no, this is done with models, and I'm like, oh shit. And this is the first movie in 77 that I was cognizant of having a creator behind it and someone who actually made this, that there's actually artists that had to spend all their time and their energy creating this. And and it's still that way. I'm watching this and I'm like, geez, I can't believe I'm looking at people inside of a room with a giant wall-sized screen. I feel like I'm on Tatooine. God.
Just how amazing is that? When I saw the making of for Mandalorian, mm-hmm. and the fact that the entire room is like it's a screen, the entire the ceiling, the walls, the floors, everything. It looks like you're standing in the desert,
and it shifts perspective with the camera.
Yeah,
that's fucking amazing. And that's George Lucas working with James Cameron and Peter Jackson, cross-pollinating with all these different movies to get to that point. You know,
Why
golden
green
age.
screen it when you can actually have it right there?
Yeah. Green screen is old technology, he says, looking over his shoulder.
Yeah, me
at the-
too.